Right back where I stood almost 2 years ago, telling you that this project, Dorothy, my 73 Celica, was on the road to greatness. There would be progress updates and working on the car, modifications, improvements, and eventually racing, and hopefully victory, right? Rough but ready is what I said. She'd be rough, she'd be ready to race. Well, here she is. Exactly the same as she was 2 years ago. That's because I am exceedingly lazy. Life happens, and so here she sits. Abandoned, piled high with dust and junk, and she's been scavenged for parts even. It's a sad state of affairs. To be honest, I've kind of given up on this chassis. It's always going to be easier for me to go out and buy new toys and go racing and do all the things that are easy to do than it is to, to put the effort into making a vintage, cool, reasonably reliable show and go car out of this. So this video right here is to tell all 12 of you that have tuned in to watch the progress of this car. Thank you, by the way. I don't know why I did this. I never do that. I wanted to make this video to let you know that we are done here. I'm walking away from this car because it will never be the car that I want it to be. Under my ownership, it won't ever make it across any figurative or literal finish line. I just don't have the time in my life to make this shell into anything nearly as cool as this. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. May I introduce you to Dale. Dale. I found this car on Facebook Marketplace. It had been listed for about a week. The price was so low that I figured it was just going to be an absolute heap. Around here in the Midwest, most of these Toyotas rot into the dirt. If they're 90s Toyotas, their clear coat's gone. 70s Toyotas don't have clear coat. The interiors are all crispy fried, and the rust is just everywhere. I expected no less from this one. In fact, I thought at best that this car would be a great candidate to make a rally replica, since it already has these massive Toyota Team Europe style flares. So I thought I would love to have a rally replica Celica, and then I could drive the hell out of it at Rallycross. So I rolled up to see the car and meet the man who was selling it. It was a friend of Dale's. Not Dale, friend of Dale, because Dale really couldn't bear to sell the car himself. He just had too much sentimental attachment, and he's not that much of a horse trader, so he just figured he'd have his buddy who, kind of deals in some older cars, Mustangs, and equipment and stuff like that. He thought he'd have him take a shot at selling it, and then Dale wouldn't have to watch it go, as it were. So when I saw the car, my jaw dropped. And when the seller told me that the original owner did all the fiberglass work himself, my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't imagine that, unless he was a body guy, how could he have done all this work himself? And that whale tail, that's a custom one-off whale tail. I was starting to think that the car might be a little bit more than what I imagined when I first saw it on Facebook. He asked me if I wanted to put the car up on a lift, and before that, I said, let me just take a look inside, because I had an inkling that the interior might be in pretty good shape, but, they're all crusty or dusty in some way. And I opened the door, and, the carpets are new, the vinyl is all still on the dash, and the dash is not cracked at all. The seats in the rear are supple and soft, even at the very tops where they just get baked in the sun in the back window. And I knew right then that there was no way I was going to leave without locking it down, because this is my car, mine. I can't remember if it was a day later or a week later. I come back with the truck and the trailer. We load up the car and nearly a whole other car's worth of parts and restoration pieces. Dale's concept for this was to turn it back into more of a street car, back into more of the original form of the car. I'm sorry, Dale, but you couldn't be more wrong. This car is going to stay like this and only get more like this, as there's no reason to take this off of it. It's beautiful the way that it is. So with the car and parts all loaded up, I headed off for home with the number of the man himself in my pocket so I could give Dale a call later. So it's been some number of months since I've had the car, and many things have been worked on and happened, and I'll now detail those the best I can from memory. First, though, let's have a bit of a walk around the car and see what we can see. As previously mentioned, the flares are Toyota Team Europe style rally flares. And the whale tail has the center section of a TRD spoiler underneath, but has piping and chicken wire and fiberglass added to create this dramatic Porsche style wonderfulness that makes the trunk weigh about 70 pounds. But we can just call that added downforce. The side vents are from a Fiat X19, and they don't do anything functional other than look totally awesome. The hood vents have been removed and the holes have been filled. I think I'm going to change that back. I've got some beautiful 72 hood flutes that will repaint silver. Everything that was attached to the car, body-wise, was fiberglassed over and has a fairly thick layer of filler on top of that to smooth it down. And the paint scheme itself was actually lifted from a semi-truck. They gave Dale a book of samples of paint at this paint place he went to, and he picked the paint from a semi-truck and trailer, and that's what's on the car, and it's perfect. It's the most perfect paint that a Dale could have. Now let's have a look at the interior. If you know anything about vintage Toyotas or vintage import cars in general, you know a few things just by looking at this interior. You know that the seats are from an SW20 Toyota MR2. You know that the carpets have been replaced at some point. You know that these speakers in the doors are not factory. And you know, by the smell alone, that this is some of the best vintage Toyota interior that you've ever seen. This car was kept inside for most of its life, and it shows the most here on the inside, but the question that everyone wants to know when looking at the outside and the inside of the car is, what's under that hood?
Let's see what's in the box! Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
Well, sadly, that part is not yet incredibly exciting or beautiful. Here we have a standard issue 18R tractor motor. This one has been previously bored out, has a slightly hotter cam, and is currently running a Weber 3236 carb and an aftermarket header. Since getting the car, I've been down a few paths with this motor to get it running right, and I'm still not quite there. But those stories and more will have to wait until next time. I've done plenty of work to Dale already and had quite a good number of adventures. For now, though, I think we'll leave it at that. You should stay tuned. Click to subscribe, maybe do the notification bell thing, I don't know. But you're going to be seeing a lot more of Dale in 2023. I just hope that I can keep up the video progress reports as I go, because progress is going to happen very quickly.